What's happening, everybody? Steve here, Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com. Coming back to you with another video with my main man from Round Rock, Texas, Joshua Chris.
My man.
What's going on? Over here in Round Rock, just leaving Austin, Texas, the Green Room event. And I definitely had to connect with Josh because he has an amazing story. This guy went from dead broke. You were in an apartment that was what, like 400 square feet, something like that?
Yeah, probably less than that, $375 a month.
Really just, he was going through a tough time, small apartment, didn't have much money. It literally changed his life. Went from broke, just working those 9-to-5 jobs, to thrifting. He was selling on eBay, doing a lot of Goodwills and reselling. And then he took his business to over 7 figures, and really shows and proves that, you know, it doesn't matter what your past is, where you come from, how much you struggle, you can change your life. It's going to take hard work and time, but brother, absolutely. Again, thank you so much, man. I'm excited to share your story, and I'll put links to Josh's YouTube and his Instagram, because he does much more than Amazon. He's big into real estate as well. So this is cool, man. So why don't you share with people a little bit more about yourself and your story?
Yeah, guys, so it all started a couple years ago. Literally, like Steve said, I was literally working a dead-end job, minimum wage. I didn't even have a real job. I worked as a temp agent for Spartan Staffing, and I worked for a place called Finitech. And my job was a trash sorter, right? So they recycled plastic, right, and turned plastic into little palletized pieces of plastic and made furniture like the chairs we're sitting on. And that was my job, and I hand sorted through trash literally from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. when I was starting. It was horrible. I remember when I was getting up to go to sleep, my family was going to sleep. When I was getting ready to get up and go to work, my family was sleeping. Right. When I was coming home, my family was getting up and I was going to sleep. So my youngest son, I missed a couple years of his life. It was horrible at the time, man. Things were tough.
Wow, that's crazy. So how did you kind of change your life and go from dead broke, and eventually learned about thrifting and stuff, and one thing led to another? And I talk about stepping stones a lot. Where you are today, it's not going to be where you are in a year or two. There's going to be new opportunities that present itself. So kind of share those stepping stones of how you went from dead broke nothing to now you're in this amazing, beautiful house. You're running a 7-figure business. And we're also going to give you guys a bunch of tips for kind of how you can go from a point where, I know a lot of you guys are, let me put it this way, you're trying to get the profit, but you're right here and you're always having to go out and get the profit. Thrift stores, garage sales, and it's great, but how do you get the profit to come to you? That's what we're going to talk about. So kind of share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure, Steve. So just like you said, basically your current situation isn't your final destination. So many people focus on where they're at today. Where they're at today isn't going to be where they're at tomorrow, right? So I always knew, even though I was making minimum wage and I was stuck at a dead-end job, I hated my life, I understand that that current situation wasn't my final destination. So it's quite funny. While I was working on my days off, and whenever I had free time, I would walk to the library because I didn't have a computer, right? And I would watch just YouTube videos on how to make money and how to find ways to make money, right? And
how many years ago was this?
This is about 5 years ago, before I got started with Amazon, right? So about 5 years ago. And I came across your videos, right? And that was when you first got your first spot, and you were showing how to buy clothes and buy designer clothes, right? Like Polo and the Tommy Hilfiger and everything, and how to steam them and put them on the white construction board and sell them. So usually Saturdays and Sundays I got off, and coincidentally that was the half-off days at the local thrift store. So I would go and I would grind and I would get all those as much as I could afford.
And that was Indiana when you were living over there.
That was in Indiana. So, and I would steam clean them. I had literally had a white piece of construction board up on the wall, pinned to my wall, like a little janky light, and I would take pictures and put them on eBay, and that was how I got some extra money to get started with Amazon.
So you were working a job and you were doing this on the side. How did you get to the point where you were able to save up enough money to then start making moves? Because now you have, how many how many doors do you have?
32.
So it's 32 doors, which comes to how many properties is that?
I want to say about 12. You know, I lose track. That's why I count doors, right? But we've got 32. We've got an 8-unit. We've got a 4-unit. We've got a 3-unit, and the rest are duplexes.
And you're running an Amazon private label business, which is generating how much?
Several million. Last year we did a little over 3 million.
So we did over 3 million last year just with Amazon private label. You've got, you don't even remember, like 12 properties, 30 something doors. How do you go from broke, you're watching Raiken Profit old school videos, freaking clothing hauls and everything? Because that's a huge gap, dude. That's what I'm trying to figure out here, and I don't know the answer. So kind of share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so, and it definitely starts with patience, persistence, and resilience, guys. It's not going to happen because that is a huge gap, and that's about a 4-year gap, right? So the main thing is just being consistent with what you're doing. So when I was thrifting and getting money, just like he said, just like Steve said, right, I was going out and chasing the profits, and it was hard for me to scale it because there's only so many good items that you can thrift, right? And then you have to go out and exchange your time for the money. So I was constantly looking for ways to make my money work for me instead of me work for it. Like, how could I generate income with me being
That's
absent?
an interesting mindset that I feel like, myself included, for the longest time, and a lot of people watching, they don't have that. You could change it. So that's interesting. Okay, so you had that in mind.
Yeah, and I was just literally going to the library and just hounding the YouTube on trying to find ways to make money literally work for me, right? And I came across another video from my good friend now. His name is Brian Burt, and he had interviewed a seller called, his name is Will Tingerland, right? And he did another interview with Ryan Daniel Moran, and he was talking about this Amazon thing. And Amazon wasn't sexy back then. And I became infatuated because the whole preface of it is Amazon and the supplier does all the work for you. And you can work from literally anywhere, and all you have to do is just manage your store. So it was like eBay, like what I was doing with eBay at the time, but it was without me physically going out and getting everything.
Okay.
So that's what sparked my interest.
So it sounds like, if I'm understanding things correctly, Josh, it sounds like you were working your job, you were doing the whole eBay and thrifting and garage sale thing on the side, and you were saving money. And then did it come to a point where you saved enough money where you were able to then invest that into your Amazon business now? Or is that
exactly? That's exactly how we did it. While I was going and I was learning everything about Amazon and how to get started, I was still going and I was buying as much stuff as I could on the weekends, and I was flipping it. And I was saving all that money because I was barely making ends meet with what we made. There was times like I had to go volunteer at Center Township, like pressure wash sidewalks and paint railings, just to get a voucher to pay my rent. My rent was $375 a month, right? It was a 1-bedroom apartment. My fiance at the time, wife now, was pregnant with our youngest son. We had another boy, our oldest boy, Luis. He had the 1-bedroom. We actually slept in the living room and had a shower curtain up. So like I was working as much as I could just to keep food on the table, just to pay the bills. And I was just grinding, just hustling, going to the different thrift stores and saving a little bit of money I could. And that's when I got started with Amazon, once I had enough information.
So when you had started your Amazon, and it's private label, that's how you've made your money. That's how you've been able to afford this house and change your life and bring your family along with you, move from Indiana to Round Rock, which is I think one of the fastest growing cities
in the US.
So maybe you can share with people what private label is, and then let's kind of give some tips for people who are looking to make that transition from chasing after the profit to then having the profit come to them by creating and building their own products and selling through Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. So what private label is private labeling is a strategy that you can utilize on Amazon. And it's essentially basically we're creating our own brand, right?
Okay.
So we're finding products that have demand and essentially lack competition, just like the big guys, just like your Apples, just like your GoPros, just like your Beats by Dre. And we're finding products like that and we're making them our own. And once we make them our own, we come up with an idea. We have a proof of concept that this product has demand and it lacks competition, which means it's not too saturated, not too hard to sell in. We reach out to a supplier, we find a manufacturer, and then we have the manufacturer make our products, make them unique, special to us, put our logo on there, differentiate them. Maybe we add a bundle or something like that. Whatever we do to make that true and unique to us, and then we send it directly to Amazon. So FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. So once we make everything and the supplier sends it to Amazon, Amazon is then going to pick your product or store your product, pick it, pack it, ship it, and handle the returns. So we don't have to do anything. We don't have to manage the reviews. We don't have to manage the back and forth with the customers. And I remember, like on eBay, they hide behind the golden shield, right? Like I remember just trying to please people so much.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful that like Amazon handles everything. They have a dedicated 24/7 customer service hotline. So pretty much, essentially, all you have to do, Steve, with the business model is number one, make sure you don't run out of inventory, and number two, utilize your marketing through Amazon, right? And Jeff Bezos' letter to shareholders in 2018 said that third-party sellers are kicking first sellers' butts.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why, and it says in the letter to shareholders, is because they're investing billions of dollars into Amazon Seller Central, which is a tool that we have access to, right? And that's why it's like the average, like over 70% of Amazon sellers make 90,000 plus, right? Like the majority of people, not the big guys, not the guys who have multi-million-dollar stores, just the small guys, because you just need a small slice of the pie, right? And it's because Jeff Bezos is investing billions into the software and making it easy and comprehensive for us to get started.
Awesome. That's super cool. So what advice would you give to the people now who are looking to find a way to get started? Because there's so much information out there about selling on Amazon. It's hard to figure out what to listen to, what model works. So if you go back in time and start again with the knowledge you have now, what are maybe 3 things that you would share with the people watching now in terms of how to get started and moving in the right direction?
Yeah, so first I would just get started, right? Like perfectionism leads to procrastination. And so many people they overanalyze when to start. Like, I'll wait till the perfect time to learn, or I'll wait till I have the perfect amount of money. And the thing is, Steve, like the perfect time to start was yesterday. The next best time is right now, right? Like today is the tomorrow we worried about yesterday. So I literally spent probably a 6-month period just overanalyzing. What I would do first is after you establish that and you actually get started, I would then start to learn as much as I can, right? Start learning and start dissecting as much information as you can. And then once you feel comfortable, I would get started. And the thing is, so many people go all in on their first go, and it's the end all be all. And this is the mistake I see hundreds of people doing.
This is the only thing.
Yeah, and that is a good mentality to have, right? Because when Tony Robbins says, when you burn your boat, you burn your bridge, there is no option. There is no plan B. You have to move forward, right? But contrary to that, like when you're getting started, understand that a failure, you might bump your head, right? You might fall victim to hitting an objective, right? Or hitting an objection or a barrier, or you might bump your knee, you might scrape your elbow, right? But to get right back up, right? And that's the problem that so many people make when they get started. They go into it with the end all be all. I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket, and if it doesn't work, this isn't for me. So I definitely recommend starting out. Like so many people want to start with 2,000-3,000 units. Like test the market with 100 units, 200 units.
I love your philosophy with that. We were actually at a Salt Lake barbecue, and you were telling me that I think I asked you, what do you think your advantage is on the competition? And you said that you have the ability to launch more products and test more products because you have that philosophy of, I'd rather launch 10 products and have maybe 50 or 100 units to kind of get data on each one versus
going all in on that.
I think that's a great lesson.
Absolutely. And I call that the micro launch strategy, right? So that's one of the best things that you can do. And that's something that I do that a lot of people don't, right? Because a lot of people will say, okay, well, if this product's selling 1,000 units a month, you want to order 2,000 because you don't want to run out of inventory, right? But unfortunately, like all these tools like Jungle Scout and Viral Launch, they just give you data, right? But it's not factual data. They're estimated API-generated data.
Of course.
So the best and the true data is real-life data. So the way I look at it is instead of investing $1,000 into 4 units or $2,000 into 1 unit, I'll invest that $2,000 micro-launching or testing 4 units. And it's kind of unique, right? And the way I look at it is by dividing your risk or your investment into 4, you're actually multiplying the chances of you succeeding by 4, right? Maybe 3 of them fail and the 1 actually has good data. Then you can order back on those, airship those, get those back in inventory as fast as possible, and then scale that one, right? And the reason why is so many people, Steve, they focus on the front end. And there's a saying that amateurs monetize the front and experts monetize the back.
Okay, awesome. So why don't you share with everybody what the benefit is at the end of the day of having a private label business versus doing thrifting, which is great, going to garage sales, flea markets. What's it like right now running your business? I don't know how many products you currently have if you want to share that, but what's it like once you get your business going, once you create your product, once you get the upfront marketing? Because there's definitely a lot of work you have to do up front.
Absolutely.
But that benefit is once that upfront work is done, there's kind of just a maintenance mode, and then the sales kind of flow instead of you always having to chase the next dollar, find the next sale. So what's it like a year, 2 years out, once you set up, you build that foundation of a private label business to kind of give the folks watching an idea of what's around the corner?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Steve, and you hit the nail on the head, Steve, all of it's front end loaded. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Number one, Amazon has no prejudices, right? So if you have a full-time job, you can do this before work, after work, on the weekends, when the kids go to sleep. And once you get started, you have to just grind in the front end, right? Once you find your product, the bulk load is finding your product. Once you find your product and you verify and validate it, then it's all downhill from there. And it's just amazing, Steve, being able to create an asset that's going to generate you income 24/7, 365. And that's how I was able to get in real estate. Once I got me a couple SKUs that were running autonomously with me absent, right? Like literally just working on it a couple hours a month, just making sure we don't run out of inventory, just checking the marketing, right? Then I was able to invest in other things, right?
So essentially, if I understand you correctly, Joshua, once you do that huge load of upfront work and you get it complete, and that's kind of where I'm at nowadays. I've been in business for 5 or 6 years. I'm looking for things that I want to put a lot of work in up front and then be able to take my foot off the pedal and reap the rewards. So it sounds like once you find the product, you do your marketing, you get things set up, you order from your supplier, it's just a matter of replenishing your inventory. And the great thing with Amazon FBA is you send all of it out to the warehouse.
Yep.
So you get that thing ranking on the first page selling, and Amazon's doing everything behind the scenes, and you're just communicating with your supplier, and they're sending in more inventory. So do you have it set up where your supplier sends it directly to the warehouses, or are you having to touch the products every time?
No, yeah, we don't touch anything. So once you find your product, right? Like let's say your product is phone case, just for example, right? And this is your private label product. Once you find your product, your supplier is going to ship it from China directly to Amazon, dude. Right? So you're not touching anything. Everything's digital. It's a communication like, hey, make this adjustments. This is how I want the product. This is how I want the packaging. Your supplier is going to put your product into the packaging, right? Tape it, print out the labels for you, put it on the pallet, ship it directly to Amazon, deal with customs. Amazon's going to receive it, right? Amazon's going to receive it. They'll then store it, pick it, pack it, and ship it. They print the labels. They put it in the box, right? Like 75% of America, Steve, shops on Amazon, right? That's 2/3 of America. So when we get Prime Day boxes, we get the box with the Amazon tape. Yeah. Amazon's doing everything. When you open it, it's our product. And the way that product is the way that it comes from our supplier. So we're literally not doing anything. Literally, the only things we're doing is making sure we don't run out of inventory and handling the marketing from our computer. And once you get started, once you get scaling, like the point where I'm at now, I may be dedicating. We have 12 SKUs, 3 brands, right, that generate several million a year.
That's not even a lot of SKUs.
No, and that's the thing. Like,
not a lot to manage.
So many people think like you need hundreds of SKUs, right? On other strategies like wholesale, you need hundreds of SKUs because you need to have volume, right? But with this, you can have a smaller amount of SKUs and you can really go wide. We're building a real brand, right? And the powerful part is to automate it, right? Like I'm always trying to delegate, not participate. And now at the area that I'm in, once you start scaling and you're profitable, you can go hire a virtual assistant from onlinejobs.ph who's going to work in the Philippines. And what I have is I have 2 assistants, one that works 11 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I have 2 VAs that run my business 24/7.
What are they doing for you?
They're handling inventory. They're monitoring advertising. They're monitoring account health. They're responding to feedback, customer service. And even though you don't need it, once you get the ball rolling, it is nice to respond to your customers and let them know that you care.
You want to protect your brand, just like Amazon, eBay, Nike, any brand. We're always trying to protect our brand and make it the highest quality.
Absolutely. And so many people think like it costs a lot of money. Like I pay $200 per week. That's $800 per month to have my business running 24/7, 365 autonomously, and I'm absent.
Can you give an example of maybe one of your products, what you pay for it and what it typically sells for and what you profit and maybe how much it sells per month? Like what's an average, what's something that somebody could expect?
Yeah, so like the bare minimum that we look for is we look for a product that sells 10 units per day at $10 profit per unit. That equates to about $2,800 to $3,000 profit per month.
On just one product?
On just one product.
Holy
now,
crap.
I have products that sell 100 units per day, 50 units per day, 30 per day. So 10 is like the bare minimum. 10 is not like the holy grail, right? But that's a good starting point for you to get a small, quick, fast, easy win, right? Because we want to go for the low-hanging fruit. We want to grow our portfolio, right? So one product sells 10 units per day, $10 profit, is right around $2,800 to $3,000. That's what we look for.
Wow, that's awesome. Brother, this has been a pleasure. I'm going to put a link down below in the description. We actually have a bunch more videos coming in a possible webinar where we really go in depth, sharing his story, sharing how you can get started. It's not ready yet, so just click the link in the description. It'll bring you over to a landing page, and I'll kind of put you in a little waiting area and send you some goodies as well. So definitely check that out. If you're interested in learning more about how you can have products come to you, how you can make sales without having to go chase it. If you're the type of person like me where you want to earn passive income, you want to put in that upfront work and hustle hard for a short period of time to reap the rewards long term, this is definitely an interesting business model. And we're here. We've got the beautiful pool behind us. We've got you can't see it, but maybe I'll pan out. We've got a nice golf course. I mean, this guy's living proof. I'm here in the flesh, trying to see firsthand if he's the real deal. And I've seen his sales. I've seen his house, met his family, and what a wonderful man. And hopefully this inspires you. It's inspired me. I just can't wait to go out there and hustle harder. And appreciate you, brother.
All right, man, I appreciate you.
Also put some links to his Instagram, your Facebook, your YouTube. I'll put all your links down below. But follow this guy. He's the real deal. And with that being said, keep on picking and making that money. And I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to sign up down below. We got more goodies coming for you. Peace.